A military draft office in Ukraine was just blown up, and the first reaction across social media wasn't mourning, but celebration. Not from the attackers, but from Ukrainians themselves. In a war between two nations, no one expected this. The people under attack, cheering when their own conscription centres are destroyed. Some call it desperation, others enlightenment. Live streams popped up, comments flooded in like sports commentary. Nice shot, one more to go please. And somewhere between the jokes came the uncomfortable question, are Ukrainians now celebrating because they no longer want to be sent to war? If this is a war, it's no longer just between armies, it's a war of trust between a government and its people. And it seems President Zelensky is slowly losing ground on that front. Anti-corruption, once the crown jewel of Kyiv's appeal to the West, is now being restrained. Investigators accused of old traffic incidents. Sounds more like spring cleaning than national security. On the battlefield, Ukraine is still holding its line, but when draft centres are met with applause, something has clearly fractured. There's no confidence in victory, no clarity in what's being defended, and for some, no will to fight at all. Some Ukrainians are now calling Russia the saviour. Some pray for the next strike to land near home. Others just want their sons to survive. So what is really happening inside Ukraine? Zelensky, once hailed as a wartime symbol, does he still hold that place, or is this the beginning of the end? In today's report, we won't pick sides, we won't jump to conclusions, but we will ask the questions about politics, about the people, and about a trust that's quietly burning away. Zelensky, from hero to man alone. On July the 21st, Ukraine's security service, the SBU, arrested a senior official from NABU, the country's anti-corruption bureau. The official charge? Allegedly spying for Russia at least 60 times. But it didn't stop there. Another investigator at NABU was accused of helping his father sell industrial hemp to Moscow. Yes, hemp. And if that wasn't strange enough, 3 other NABU employees received notices about traffic accidents from 2 to 4 years ago. Apparently, car crashes are now a matter of national security. NABU pushed back hard. They claim these raids had little to do with espionage and more to do with silencing an institution that was getting too close to the wrong people. Because NABU and SAPO, its counterpart in prosecution, were the last 2 agencies left with real authority to investigate corruption inside the Ukrainian government. Because President Zelensky has just signed a law placing both under the supervision of his own administration. What do you call an independent watchdog that reports directly to the people it's supposed to investigate? Exactly, a well-fed pet. Critics say this move effectively turns Ukraine's anti-corruption fight into a decorative slogan. And the public? They noticed. Protests broke out almost immediately. Zelensky, in response, didn't veto the bill. He doubled down. And that raises a more disturbing question. Why would a wartime president, already under fire, both figuratively and literally, choose to weaken his last line of accountability? Is it fear? A power grab? Or has Ukraine's anti-corruption crusade outlived its usefulness as a fundraising slogan abroad? In a democracy, transparency is a shield. In wartime, sometimes it becomes a liability. Ukraine's 2 biggest promises, joining NATO and the European Union, were once seen as inevitable, unstoppable. But at the latest NATO summit in Vilnius, the phrase irreversible path to NATO membership quietly disappeared. Instead, each member state was left to support Kiev individually, at their discretion. No binding roadmap, no timeline, no guarantee. The European Union, same story. Hungary has openly opposed Ukraine's accession. Poland's newly elected president ran on an anti-Ukraine platform. And in countries like Slovakia and the Czech Republic, public support for Ukraine's EU membership is at a record low. This isn't just geopolitics, it's money. Zelensky needs EU integration because with it comes Western funding, and without funding, the war economy starts to wobble. But asking for billions in aid while dismantling your own anti-corruption watchdogs, that's bold, borderline avant-garde. And Zelensky recently complained that the EU was dragging its feet on delivering a €100 billion military package. For context, that's almost equal to Ukraine's entire GDP, but you wouldn't know it from the way he's demanding it, as if it's overdue rent. But here's the paradox. Western nations might still be willing to send money, they just want to make sure someone is watching where it goes. But that's a problem now, because the anti-corruption teams have been gagged, and the man asking for help just broke their legs. Starts to fracture when allies start asking not how can we help, but how long should we keep trying? And Zelensky knows this, because when the doors in Brussels begin to close, the only open window may be the one he has to climb out of. Somewhere in eastern Ukraine, a military draft office goes up in smoke, and instead of panic, there's applause. Not from Russian propagandists, from Ukrainian civilians, on Telegram, in TikTok comments, on the streets. It's hard to say what's more surreal, that a conscription centre was destroyed or that people openly rejoiced. Like they just dodged a parking ticket, not a war zone. This isn't just war fatigue, it's something deeper. A rebellion not just against Russia, but against Kiev itself. For months, reports have emerged about forced conscriptions. Men snatched off the streets, videos of military officers chasing down civilians in broad daylight, silent crowds, watching, filming, walking away. Now, they cheer when those recruitment officers are flattened. Not exactly the kind of public engagement most governments would hope for. And it's not just men trying to flee, it's women too, blocking roads, storming police stations, demanding their husbands, sons and brothers be spared. Some are protesting, some are hiding, some are leaking the locations of draft offices to Russian intelligence. Yes, really. Because for many Ukrainians, it's not about democracy anymore. It's about survival, about not being the next body shipped home in silence. And in that silence, you start to hear something else. Not praise for the army, not calls for victory, but quiet hope that the war ends soon, even if it means surrender. So what do you call it where your own people start celebrating enemy missiles? Despair, betrayal, or just reality breaking through the narrative? Either way, when the crowd cheers for a bomb, you don't need a poll to know that something inside a nation has snapped.